but don't answer my question.
Well, you want to question it?
Do you think he should have gotten the ball
You want to
more?
question the play calling? That usually is the case when something doesn't work, so.
But you don't question that, how much he got the ball there, or don't want to with us?
No, what I want to do is, I want to look at the film, I want to learn from it, and not going to get into questioning the play calling.
Kevin?
Jim, after
Because it's a very convenient thing, right? I mean, it's a very easy thing to do.
What's it-
Play worked, and
Right.
hey, it was a great play because it worked. Play didn't work. Would you wish you had done something else, had a different play call? Sure, that's very easy to do. It's a very 2020,
Right.
hindsight is 2020.
I just thought maybe there was something I was missing.
No, I think that's a standard question that, when a play works, hey, great play call. You run a third down draw, and it's floored and it works, hey, great call. You call a play that doesn't work, and, would you wish you would have called a different play? That's a very easy thing to do.
So simplistic to do, in 2020 hindsight to do that, but is it entirely wrong to question play calling?
No, it's your right to do.
But do you disagree with it?
I think that's what people do. It's just a fact of what anybody does. Wish you should have thrown it or should have run it. That's, if you threw it and it didn't work, you wish you would have run it. If you ran it and it didn't work, then hey, it would have been better to throw it, and you'd be right.
Is that your response? Did you do the same thing as a coach? I'm looking back saying, well, we did make the wrong play call here. We should have done.
As a coach, you go through it, and you look at where you can make corrections and where you can make improvements.
Kevin?
After being able to watch the film, what's your assessment of John at quarterback, and is he still going to be your quarterback going forward?
Yes. Yeah. Again, we'll go through it. We'll make corrections, make improvements, and we'll move on.
Jim, through 5 weeks now, I don't want to compare season to season. In years past, we kind of knew what this offense's foundation, backbone, whether it be power play, kind of whatever it would be, your kind of foundation. Do you think you have one right now through 5 games, or maybe not all the way to where you want? You know what I'm saying? Like a home base, a foundation of what you do really, really well offensively, with a younger or emerging young group.
Yeah, and in the process of doing that.
Has it been more difficult because they're young and coming along, or is it just not as fast as you'd like? You say in the process, but is it not where it should be or where you want it to be? Or
Yeah, we had a ball game that stuff happens, things happen. We had fumbles, we had turnovers, we had things that just occur. We had a shotgun snap to their quarterback, he fumbles it and then picks up a critical first down. I mean, things happen, and during the course of the game, and you don't necessarily know why they're happening, but they keep happening, and that's where you go back and you learn from it, you look at it, you make corrections, and you move on with the mindset of not letting it happen again.
Hello friends, welcome to the Michigan Football Report. I'm Tom Downey, alongside me is the Michigan Football Insider, James Yoder. A lot to get to, all kind of about the issues right now with the Michigan football offense. So before we get to that though, the highlights, why all the Michigan fans are so upset right now. Michigan State, the offense was just not good in this one, and it started early. Michigan up 3-0 here, James, ties it, gets the handoff, he runs for a few yards, and then he coughs up the ball.
Tom, people are talking about Jay Harbaugh, Michigan's running backs coach, is not teaching these guys to hold on to the ball.
All right, that led to this. Brian Lewerke, the quarterback, will scramble on 2nd and 13. He gets into the end zone for the score. 7-3 Michigan State leads. Second quarter, same score, perfectly timed up screen. Lewerke to Madre London. No one on that side of the field. He gets in the end zone for the score. 14-3. After great field position here to start this drive, John O'Korn, Grant Perry, looked like a score there, was originally called a touchdown, was ruled shy. Near disaster. John O'Korn barely gets the handoff to Khalid Hill, 14-10.
He's back, Khalid Hill.
Yeah, he's back. And then the issues there in the second half as the rain really started to come down. James, I know you were at that game. We'll talk about that. Here's one of John O'Korn's interceptions. He fumbled the snap, forced the throw. Joe Bacci, who was great in this game for Michigan State, picked off that one. Then another O'Korn interception, airmailed his target. David Dow with the interception, takes it back into Michigan territory. But the Spartans did nothing with those possessions. Then near disaster, Lewerke fumbles, ends up working out okay. He rolls over his own man to get the first down. Michigan State had a big penalty, so Michigan, one last chance here. Hail Mary throw from John O'Korn. It ends up falling incomplete. Michigan's offense coughs it up 5 times. They put up 10 points, and they get upset by Sparty, 14-10.
There's some things there in those highlights, Tom, before we kind of talk about the stats that were just infuriating to watch as a Michigan fan, is the stubbornness of Michigan to leave O'Korn in the backfield, an empty backfield in a torrential downpour, to throw the ball on 3rd and short with just plays prior where they were doing screen or handoffs on 3rd and 4th. The inconsistency of playing calling was amazing. And then to take a penalty, a delayed game penalty, on that second to last play in the game, to move him back 5 yards, you saw John O'Korn barely got the ball to the end zone, even though it was caught. It might have been right on the goal line. That just shows that this coaching staff did not come ready to play. And we talked about it on last Friday in our Michigan football preview show, that Brian Lewerke with his feet could be the difference. And frankly, his one scramble for that touchdown, that was the difference in this game. We look at the stats here. O'Korn very underwhelming with 3 interceptions. Karan Higdon had a decent game. Grant Perry came up with that near touchdown. That was probably the best offensive play of the day.
It was like the half-inch line.
Yeah, that was basically the best offensive play for Michigan. They held Michigan State in check in the second half, but Lewerke gained those 61 rushing yards and a touchdown, and that screenplay where Michigan was completely just lost, defensively. That was Mark D'Antonio. We talked about that with him. He's going to be creative, and he was much better coach this game than Jim Harbaugh.
All right, folks, today's show is brought to you by the Game Time app. If you need last-minute sports tickets, concert tickets, get the Game Time app at chatsports.com/tickets. James, I know you would use it this week.
I had a ticket to this Michigan State game. It was pulled from me last minute. I kind of had to fend for myself. Some folks had promised things they didn't come through on. You know what I did, Tom? I'm talking about 10 minutes before the game, went to the Game Time app. I heard people paying $200, $300 for these tickets. I got a Game Time ticket for 60% off that last minute ticket.
Deal right there.
You wait till minutes for the game, the prices drop big time, and I got into the Game Time, got rained on.
It's a dangerous game to play, but you win.
You win every time if you're using Game Time. That's a fact.
All right, let's take a quick little news and note as we transition into the overall problems right now with the offense. That's what today's show is all about. Drake Harris is moving back to wide receiver, James. Jim Harbaugh told us that during his press conference on Tuesday. Does this kind of worry you?
Well, what's always interesting to me is when the Michigan media is by nature, especially the rivals and scouts and 24/7s, they are yes men for the program. So no matter what's going on, they're usually yes men, right? And so when Drake Harris moved to defensive back, it wasn't because he was a bad receiver or anything like that. It was Michigan had so much talent coming in and underclassmen that he just got passed over. He moves to defensive back. Now we hear he's going to play basketball potentially this season. Coming back to wide receiver, what screams to me? Tariq Black was the only one of these wide receivers, these 4 freshman wide receivers, ready to play. And the other 3 guys, Oliver Martin, Nico Collins, even Donovan Peoples-Jones, are just not ready to be in that starting role. And Drake Harris has got to kind of come back and be a 3rd or 4th receiver. We've seen what they're getting out of guys like Eddie McDoom and some others that just aren't making any plays unless it's a jet sweep.
Mm-hmm. With Donovan Peoples-Jones in particular, he's made some nice plays, but I'm starting to think his route tree isn't there because he's run go routes and screens.
Well, so I looked at a bunch of different people analyze what happened to the Michigan offense this week, and one in particular is very confusing to me when it comes to Peoples-Jones. There were 3 different plays where he went out, he was a receiver that was going out for a route more than 15 yards downfield. Every single one of those plays, Tom, he took 4 steps before he went 1 yard. And so that is a high school move, which is you try and juke your guy right out of the gate. Yeah, you kind of just juke left, you go upfield, you're wide open. You don't need to do that in college because you're not going to get that kind of separation in the first yard, and you need to get out of your out of the blocks and get out and be able to make a move with a great route, not try and beat the guy 1 yard in and go deep for a touchdown. So it is clear he is not getting good route, good coaching from the wide receiver side of things, and that's to me screams that Pep Hamilton is kind of an overrated wide receiver coach, and maybe he shouldn't be split duties, quarterbacks, play calling sometimes, and wide receivers. They need to be more segmented.
So Some comments here that are flowing in. Keep them coming throughout the show, folks. Producer Brett Scott, you can get them up on screen throughout today's show. Dale Little says he is doing just fine, referring to, I think, Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah.
There will always be growing pains with young players. Marvin Jennings can't beat MSU or OSU. Gotta go, period. So we already have some calls to fire Harbaugh.
Well, Jeff Gardner, I'm gonna, you're jumping a little ahead. It's 5 days after the game. This is a cooling off period,
That's
man.
Marvin.
I'm sorry, Marvin. Yeah, my bad.
Jeff's coming up next.
Yeah, my bad. Jeff's coming up next. A little turnaround here, but Marvin, let's really think about it. I've heard plenty of people make this, same record after 31 games, 24-7 comparison between Hoke and Harbaugh. But two stats you really want to think of. One, in those 31 games, Brady Hoke won all of his 31 games, an average scoring margin of 4 points over those 31 games. Jim Harbaugh's average scoring margin is 19 points a game, including the losses, right?
That's
very different. Every loss except for Ohio State in 15 is within 7 points, right? Second thing is, Brady Hoke's yards per game, 40 yards ahead of his opponents in the 31 game. Jim Harbaugh, 141 yards ahead. So same record, but it's a different program. I'm not going to get crazy. I was kind of calling for Hoke right after his 31st game is when his trajectory went way downhill. Yeah. And so I think there was reasons to call. Was the eyeball test with Hoke that just didn't look right? Harbaugh looked right. It's one game, really 2 games in his career. Ohio State in 15, this game against Michigan State, it hasn't looked right. 20 out of the games, it's looked like a well-focused, well-oiled machine.
And then Jeff Gardner says, yes, Michigan needs Harbaugh. Harbaugh means Michigan. Steven says we'll be fine. Relax, RELAX, in the words of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Bill Sanders says, so stupid to say. He took over a team that basically hit rock bottom. Brian Wells says, beat Ohio State November 25th, and all will be good. I mean, yeah.
That's a true story.
All of a sudden, it's Harbaugh is the greatest thing ever again.
But it's looked like they have a chance at this point now.
Yeah. And then Marty chiming in here says, if you think Harbaugh isn't the guy, then you're an idiot. Marty, I agree with you. Wrong you are.
I knew you were going to pull that one out,
I do it every time. I'm sorry, Marty.
Yeah,
but I do agree with you there.
Let's talk about that for a second, Tom. Your means possession. That means you're an idiot. It means I would possess Tom being an idiot. Your possibly RE means you are.
I'm just rambling here. All right, let's get into these team stats here to kind of give you an overview of just the issues right now with the Michigan offense. Then we'll try and see if we can't figure out why all these things are going wrong right now for the Wolverines. We start with the national stats here from the offensive perspective. Points per game, they are 80th in the nation right now, James. Just over 27 per game. The ground game is decent, 61st with almost 168 yards per game. The passing game is 75th, 218. The yards per game is 84th. That's, we'll call it what it is. That's 80th offense in the nation, right around there.
Yeah, I mean, so there's 121, 22 teams, something like that in D1, Tom. So they are below the 50% mark in every one of these marks, right at the 50% with rushing yards. And it is just night and day difference compared to last year. So I just don't know what to say about this offense that hasn't been said already.
And as of late, the turnovers are starting to kind of pick back up as well, especially against that Michigan State game. Now, look, the rain played a huge factor in that.
Yeah.
Like in the first half before it started to rain badly, O'Korn was fine. Like, he wasn't making a ton of plays, but he didn't have the back-breaking interceptions.
It just speaks to me that the coaches didn't come off. This wasn't a surprise that it was going to be pouring rain in the second half, Tom. So why are you taking a guy who was starting his second game for you, his second game since 2013, and having him throw downfield in a torrential downpour? I didn't understand the play calling. This is the time to me that Jim Harbaugh plays that Michigan word of man ball, where you have 2 backs, 2 tight ends, maybe one guy split out, and you run the ball or you die trying.
I was kind of surprised because the ground game had issues with holding onto the ball. There was also a catch that was fumbled. The ground game wasn't doing a whole lot against Michigan State, and I think we're going to get into this. I think the offensive line is a big factor there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the fumble there is on Ty Isaac. He's got a hold on that ball. Great play by Joe Bacci, but you can't fumble the ball. The holes on the ground weren't really there.
Yeah, I mean, this just didn't remind me of a Jim Harbaugh coach team. It doesn't remind me of a Jim Harbaugh coach season where Michigan just didn't turn the ball over the last 2 seasons, almost ever. And Wilton Speight threw an interception last year in his first pass, I think, as a starter, and then went 7 games on an interception, Tom. Different Wilton Speight this year, 2 pick sixes in the game 1. Basically, it's been turnovers, multiple turnovers, every single game. Now, there's some youth on that offense, but these are guys who've been in the program for the most part for 2, 3, or 4 years. This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I totally agree there. And some more offensive stats here for you guys. The first downs per game is brutal right now, out to the top 100. The turnovers have now really skyrocketed because of the multiple ones against Michigan State. and then third down red zone. So the yards aren't terrible,
Yeah.
but the other factors, the turnovers, picking up the third downs, and the red zone has been really bad.
So this is basically the most inefficient offense in
Yes.
the Big Ten right now, for sure.
Yes.
I mean, towards the bottom nationally.
So we want your guys' votes here. Who is to blame for Michigan's bad offense right now? And it is bad right now. I think that's a fact. FACK.
FACK.
A like for Jim Harbaugh, a ha-ha face if it's the assistant coaches, a wow face if you're putting it on the quarterback play, and an angry face for the offensive line. Look, Jim, obviously I think it's a little bit of all the above here to an extent. If I have to pick one, though, I'm going to go ahead and blame it on the offensive line.
You know, it's tough for me to tell. Now, I think offensive line is a big part of it, but sometimes you've got to mask your weaknesses, Tom. You got to go away from that. So why is Michigan not doing any screenplays? Why are they not doing any wide receiver
really surprise
screens?
me.
Why are they not kind of hitting tight ends on like three-yard curls? So mine is going to that ha-ha right there, Tom. It's the assistant coaches who are making the mistakes. And, I just think we're going to talk about this here in a little bit, but Jedd Fisch was a guy that a lot of these insiders, Michigan pundits and scribes, wanted to say was, not getting along well with Jim Harbaugh, wasn't getting along well with Tim Drevno. And I'm starting to believe it wasn't Jedd Fisch. It might be that Jedd Fisch's offensive philosophy was a lot different than what Michigan wanted, and he's gone. You replace him with guys like Greg Fry, move Jay Harbaugh into the running back slot. Ty Wheatley, an experienced NFL, defensive or offensive running backs coach, is gone. So you've taken two super experienced guys in Ty Wheatley and in Jedd Fisch. They're gone. You replace them with Greg Fry, Indiana's offensive line coach, and Jay Harbaugh. And I think what you've got is kind of mutiny amongst the offensive staff. Too many cooks in the kitchen at this point. So I'm going with assistant coaches,
All right,
Tom.
we're going to talk more about the assistant coaches here in just a little bit. We're also going to talk about some quarterback. And look, I know we did our show right after the game ended, the Michigan State game here on Michigan Wolverines by Chat Sports. Like the page, you'll get notified when we go live. Highlights right after the game ends. Each game ends.
Every game.
The concern for me, and I saw this a lot in the comments, the fans were not happy about John O'Korn. They were not happy whatsoever.
And I don't know, well, you can't be happy in general, but he was not a game manager in the second half, meaning that Michigan was only down by 4 points. They could have won that game without making, if they just limit the mistakes, there was opportunities to win that game. And when you turn the ball over, interceptions on 3 straight possessions, Tom, there was no way you're going to win the game, and yet they still had a chance in that last pass, which to me it looked like a good pass, and I thought Michigan had a good 50-50 shot of catching it. But, I mean, with O'Korn in there, it is 100% clear. You cannot beat Ohio State with O'Korn. You cannot beat Penn State with O'Korn. You cannot beat Wisconsin. You're not going to win a bowl game. You're not going to win a Big Ten championship. So if they keep putting John O'Korn in there as Michigan's quarterback, I think they're kind of saying that we don't trust anybody else. And if that's the case, I fear for the future of this program, Tom, because it's not going to get better next year. It's not going to get better in 2 years. I don't know who's coming in. Chad Henne isn't walking through that door. The great Rick Pitino style comment. But why not give maybe a Christian Dylan McCaffrey a shot? Where's Brandon Peters? You can't say that these guys are too young. Look at Georgia, lost a starting quarterback, true freshman, leading them to big wins. Look at when Ohio State 3 years ago, when their starting quarterback went down. J.T. Barrett, redshirt freshman, just like Brandon Peters, came in and led them to a national title game. So I think it just speaks to lack of quarterback development, and I need answers.
Brandon Peters, let's talk about him for a little bit, folks. And guys, watching, let us know who you want starting a quarterback. I've seen some comments already there. Brandon Peters, the redshirt freshman, a highly touted recruit in the class of 2016.
Yeah, and you've heard I called him. I threw out that word, the B word. We don't use anymore. I'm going to say it. He's a beta male. I've heard that he just would not command the offense enough, Tom. That he couldn't go in and demand. When a guy makes a bad route, when he undercuts, when the offensive line isn't making their blocks. He wasn't a leader, and so with that, all the talent in the world that he showed in the spring game, he was clearly Michigan's best quarterback when he was in a scripted situation in the spring game. That the coaches didn't trust him enough to be the leader of their team. So we're going to go with Wilton Speight. Now, the fact that John O'Korn is your backup, and what we've seen out of O'Korn And what we've seen out of him last year and in this game, I just don't know what that means for Peters. Is he going to be in this program 2 years from now? Is he a guy who's just going to be a 4-year player like Shane Morris was? Career backup, and then just go on and try and 5th-year transfer to a lower school. But I don't know why. If you lose this game this week, Tom, we're not even talking about Indiana because it doesn't matter. If they don't figure these problems out.
If they can't beat Indiana.
If O'Korn comes out and has these kind of issues this year and they don't put Peters in, I don't know what Michigan's doing. I don't know what the future looks like with this team.
Other guy we want to talk about here is Dylan McCaffrey. Look, he is a true freshman. He's listed as the number 3 right now. Are you calling to see some McCaffrey here, or what do you want from quarterback? Do you want McCaffrey?
And so really he's listed as is he the number 3 or is he the number 2 quarterback? It's tough to say because at the beginning of the year, something we talked about in our Michigan football preview, Peters was the number 4 quarterback in like the internal depth chart, the one that all the insiders wanted to say. And so the rumors were that McCaffrey had jumped over Peters, right? And so right now on the unofficial official depth chart, people are just saying, okay, McCaffrey's redshirting for sure, so Peters is the number 3 guy. But if it came down to it, if let's say O'Korn got hit and was out for a game, let's say he was totally terrible, and they need to bring in a quarterback for multiple games, like just like what happened to Spate happens to O'Korn. Who is it? I don't know the answer, Tom. I don't know the answer because if Brandon Peters is not better than John O'Korn, is it time to just give McCaffrey a shot? We have seen so many freshman quarterbacks throughout college football come in and be able to make a huge impact that I don't know if it's not McCaffrey long stretch. Even if he's not ready, you plan for the future.
Here's actually what I am concerned about with McCaffrey as things stand right now. He is listed on the Michigan site as 6'5", 199. I don't know if he's physically ready, and I'm not talking about like the arm or whatever or the mental side of things. Like if he starts taking hits, is he going to be able to hold up? Like he just might need a year in the program in an actual college weight program to get bulked up. Like if you're frail, like one bad hit and you're just going down.
So I kind of take myself back to 2012. Jim Harbaugh is the head coach at the 49ers. They're coming off of a great season. They were a fumble away from the Super Bowl in its first year, and their quarterback gets hit kind of mid-season, and that is Alex Smith. And they put in Colin Kaepernick, and they changed the offense completely, right? And I don't know if you don't do that. If you decide McCaffrey's the guy, do you not change the offense completely and go to more of a spread option attack where he's in the shotgun the whole time, so he has more time to, doesn't have to worry about his drops and anything like that. He has the opportunity to run. We know he's an athletic family. He can run, and if that is not the playbook that Michigan goes to, hey, we're going to drastically change to fit this player, or we're just going to look at a 6-6 season.
All right, comment here coming in from Vicky Campbell. James, I'm going to let you react to this one, but Vicky says she's been a Wolverine her entire life, seen the ups and downs. Last weekend was the straw that broke the camel's back. She's now going to be an Alabama fan.
What? Vicky, just get the hell out of here. Delete Facebook, delete your computer, because if you went through Rich Rod and if you went through Brady Hoke and you're gonna become an Alabama fan now, like, what have you been waiting for? What happened 7-8 years ago? What happened in 2005 when a top 5 Michigan team lost 5 games, right? Just get out of here, Vicky. We don't even want you on the show.
Marvin agrees, says, Vicky, come home. You can't abandon Wolverine Nation.
Marvin, I like what you're thinking. This guy, Marvin, he knows what he's talking about. He's a smart guy.
Let's talk some more about now. Deion Howard coming in says Peters needs to get a series or 2 regardless. Maybe that's not a bad idea.
I can't comprehend why he is not. And so if he's not getting at least a series, then it seems to me is it if he can't get a series in any of these games, is McCaffrey the guy next up? And Tom, I know we're kind of maybe like pressed for time here, and we're going to talk about game time here in a second. But if you see these guys, O'Korn in practice, Peters in practice, and they're not the guy, why are you only recruiting one quarterback last year? Why are you only recruiting one quarterback 2 years ago? Like,
that's a good point.
Why not bring in 2 or 3 guys? Like, I don't understand why you rely your entire program on one player.
That's a really good point. All right, folks, today's show is brought to you by the Game Time app. If you need last-minute sports or concert tickets, head over to chatsports.com/tickets to download the Game Time app. The reviews speak for themselves. Highly rated on the iOS and the Play Store.
Tom, I've got the Game Time app up. Michigan's next game against Rutgers. Tickets as cheap as $50. That's already half off. Those are $90 face value tickets, so use the Game Time app.
It's Rutgers, that's why.
Well, it is Rutgers, but
Game Time.
You're still going to see people on StubHub with all these fees and all this different stuff for $90, $100. Yeah, way too much. So use Game Time. If you're going to that Rutgers game, you're going to get in there. It's probably going to go on about $25, $30 if they have any struggles this week.
Let's talk now about the coaching staff here. We'll start with Tim Drevno, who's the offensive coordinator. What do you think of the job Drevno's done this year, James?
Tom, I like Drevno. I was a fan of his
Friend of the
earlier,
program.
friend of the program, a guy you and I have spent many of hours talking football with. But, Tom, he's never been an offensive coordinator before, right? He has never been an offensive coordinator before. He left Jim Harbaugh to go in 2014 to go leave the 49ers and go down to USC to be an offensive line coach. And this is his first run at it, Tom. I am not sold at this point on Tim Drevno because there seems to be no creativity. He doesn't know how to play to his strengths, as we said there. Bad offensive line, more screens, more draws. Not seeing it out of Drevno. I hope he gets a head coaching job after this year to avoid Jim having to maybe make a tough decision with he told us him and Jim are best friends, right? They've been together, for 12, 13 years now, and it would be tough to let your best friend go in that situation. But I just don't think he has the offensive, ingenuity, and he's not creative enough to lead Michigan into the 21st century on offense, which unfortunately they tried once with Rich Rod, didn't work out, and it's kind of just been the same style of offense. They're not going to beat Ohio State on a regular basis with Tim Drevno as offensive coordinator.
All right, Pep Hamilton up next. He is the passing game coordinator, so just call him in charge of all the passing game stuff there and the quarterbacks as well. What do you make of the job Hamilton's done?
Well, I was really excited when he came in. I thought it'd be an upgrade from the guy who went to UCLA. I'm just drawing a blank at this time, Jed Fish. But I've not seen anything out of him. It's only been 5 games. We understand that. I've not seen anything out of him really in any stop amongst his career that says he is elite. I think he's been a coattail rider. He rode Jim Harbaugh. He rode David Shaw. He rode Andrew Luck's coattails to get an offensive coordinator role with the Colts, to get one with the Browns after he got let go there. And the receivers are dropping balls absurdly. They're dropping balls all the time.
Yeah.
They're running terrible routes. And the passing game coordinator has decided our best way to score touchdowns inside the 15 is to throw a fade route to a 5'11" receiver on back-to-back plays, which we saw Saturday night. So I think I'm giving him a D or F. I'm giving him an angry face. He is not getting it done. Receivers are dropping balls, running bad routes, and the quarterback play has been as bad as it's been since 2008 with Nick Sheridan, Indiana's quarterbacks coach, as Michigan's starting quarterback.
All right, Jay Harbaugh up next here. Look, he's just 28 years old. Earlier this year, there'd been a lot of praise for Jay Harbaugh, and now that's quickly fallen to criticism.
How quick things change, Tom. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Jay Harbaugh maybe being looked at as an elite offensive coordinator in the future. Now people are calling for his head. I will say, winning masks, ugliness, or winning masks your mistakes sometimes. Michigan's fumbled the ball from a running back in 4 or 5 games, have had multiple fumbles from running backs in 3 of 5 games, right? The running backs are not blocking with any, sense of,
vision,
effectiveness. You're seeing them go left when a guy whizzes by them behind him on the right side. So I'm giving Jay a C because he has developed Ty Isaac into a serviceable back, but again, this is one of those things that people are like, Ty Wheatley wasn't Jim Harbaugh's kind of guy. That's why he moved on. Well, I don't know if Jay Harbaugh is Jim Harbaugh's kind of guy because he is not getting the job done. And frankly, Tom, he doesn't have any experience. What is his experience in coaching running backs? He has never done it at a single level of football ever, and now he's Michigan's running backs coach.
So do you think that he's qualified to be the RB coach?
I think no. I don't think he's
say
qualified. No, I think he would have been a great tight ends coach and a special teams coordinator for a good 3 to 5 year stretch. They left him in that role. He was tight ends coach 1 year, tight end / special teams 1 year, and now running backs coach. And I just don't think that's the way to do it for a guy like him. He needs to he can't be jack of all trades, master of none. He needs to master a couple of trades before he tries to be a jack of trades and move up the ladder in the coaching world.
Now, how about Greg Fry, who's now doing a whole bunch of different things for Michigan right now? The OTs, the tight ends, he's the run game coordinator as well.
Yep.
Look, the offensive line has had issues this year. Do you put the blame on Greg?
He certainly hasn't helped by any means, right? So the offensive line is as bad as it's been in the last 10 years, again, for the 3rd straight year under Jim Harbaugh. And so Drevno came in as an offensive line specialist. Didn't work under him, no major improvement. They said, okay, we need to bring Greg Fry at Indiana. He, talk about the Indiana coaching staff. This guy was offensive coordinator, co-offensive coordinator, and O-line coach in Indiana last year. He is a Michigan Rich Rod retread. He did nothing from 2008 to 2010 when he was at Michigan as O-line coach under Rich Rod. I don't know why they brought him back. And if they give him more responsibilities there, they're going to try and implement this run blocking scheme, this zone blocking scheme, which he has implemented his entire life. So he, to me, Tom, putting a square peg into a round hole. He is a zone blocking coach now running a pro-style, offensive line blocking scheme. So I don't get it with Greg Fry.
comment here coming in from Ben Miller says that Fry should be the offensive coordinator. What do you think of that?
Under what scenario would you say, when Michigan needed an offensive or defensive coordinator a year and a half ago, Tom, Jim Harbaugh went out and got Don Brown, he had no pre-existing relationship with, and got what he considered the best guy we can get in the entire country, and it has paid dividends. On what planet is Greg Fry the best guy you can get as offensive coordinator of the Michigan football program? I think on 0 planets that I've ever been on.
Opposite world?
Opposite world, maybe, yeah. So, I mean, he could be your offensive line coach. That's great, but not proving anything now. But I really think, Tom, if the offense doesn't drastically improve over these next 7 games in the regular season, Harbaugh needs to make really, really tough decisions. It might be demote, if Drevno doesn't get another job, kind of politely say, hey, you should look for another one, take an offensive line coach in the pros, whatever you want. And then Jay, let's move you to full-time special teams for a couple of years, master that, then we can move you back here. But he needs to bring in guys who can make an impact, and it can't be the good old boys network that has plagued Michigan going back 30 years, where they don't fire coaches and they don't hold assistant coaches responsible.
All right, David chiming here says that he wants to bring in Oklahoma State's offensive coordinator.
Well, I don't even know who that is, Tom. I think we're going to look it up. The Chat Sports, our research team is bringing it up here. Mike Urich, yeah. So tell me about Mike Urich, Tom. Any initial thoughts on him?
Look, he was a Broyles Award nominee, meaning that's the best assistant coach in the nation. Now, he didn't win that job, but he's the OC and the quarterback's coach. I think this is an example of, hey, this offense is great.
Yep.
Let's go hire their OC.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Boston College was.
It works. It works.
Boston College is a great defense, and they got Don Brown, and so he came over there. So I don't know who this guy is. I think there's certain schools that you got to look at right now that they have got great offensive coordinators, and let's kind of tap into that system and not run this old stodgy, non-impactful offense that Michigan's running. So Oklahoma State.
He's had a very quick rise, and back in 2012, he was the OC at a place called Shippensburg. Then he jumped to Oklahoma State, and it has worked wonders since.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of him. I'm also a big fan of Kevin Wilson, what he's done at Ohio State. I mean, you're not going to take Ohio State's offensive coordinator, but that's another situation where no relationship with Urban Meyer, and he went out and got the best coach available for the job.
You might be able to find something similar to Wilson, where a coach gets fired and they hire him to be the OC.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any names at the top of my head, but I don't think Drevno's shown enough to me over 2.5 seasons that proves to me that he's going to be able to win national titles in the years 4 through 10 or whatever, how long he stays.
That's fair. All right. Let's do a little blind test here. A lot of comments about saying that they were done with Jim Harbaugh. It's time for him to go. Well, let's take a look at where they stand. Some of the more recent college or Michigan coaches here, their first 3 years. Coach 1 jumped up to me. That's really bad.
Yeah, Coach
1 was awful.
Coach 1 is awful. 15-22 after 31 games. I don't know about that. 0-6 against your rivals, and then we've got no appearances in the BCS Bowl, so no record, no conference, no national title. Tom.
Coach 2, Coach 3, Coach 4. The overall record here isn't really all that bad per se. The versus rivals is where things kind of start to change a little bit here. 5-1 for Coach 3. 1-0 in that BCS. They also managed to win a conference and a national championship game there.
Yeah, Coach, look, Coach 2, Coach 3 here, we're looking at these guys, Tom. Pretty good records, not necessarily, one of them's got a pretty brutal record against rivals, a loss in a New Year's Six Bowl, but clearly got there in his first couple seasons. And I think these next guys look pretty. I think we've got a little bit of discrepancy on their records here, but Coach 2 and Coach 3, I think, are kind of little similar, except look at that one record versus rivals, way different. I think we're going to kind of update these stats here for a second to kind of go through 3 seasons and go from there. But we go on to Coach 4 there, Tom. Mediocre record versus rivals, 2-2. But I think most people would take that after a few seasons. A win in a BCS Bowl, and then of course, no conference, no national titles.
All right, let's head now here to. We will now reveal these coaches here because they're a little bit interesting there. Yeah. Here are the coaches here in really kind of random order to kind of confuse people here.
Yep.
Rich Rod was Coach 1. I think most people knew that.
Yeah, you got to know that.
I think everyone knew Rich Rod. I think everyone knew that Coach 3 was Lloyd Carr as well.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
of the national championship.
Yeah, so we're going to go, I think we have a discrepancy. It's 2-4 for Brady Hoke in 3 seasons as his rivals. But we've got Rich Rodriguez, first 3 seasons, 0-6 versus the rivals, Tom. No, not even contending for a Big Ten championship, not even contending for a national title. Completely embarrassed. He had literally no shot to win any of those games against the rivals. You go under Jim Harbaugh, Tom. So 1-4. You can argue that 2015 he should have won that Michigan State game. The blocked punt return for a touchdown, the last play of the game. And then we all know the game that still gets me boiling, the 2016 Ohio State-Michigan game, came down to a 4th and 1.5 game, 1.5 on the last play of the game. If Michigan stops, they win. So with literally 2 different snaps go the other direction, the last or second to last play of the game, Jim Harbaugh has a winning record against these teams. And, but unfortunately, he hasn't won those close games really throughout all, most of his wins against Michigan that are close, he has come out on the losing side of. So that's an interesting one. Lost that game against Florida State, no conference titles, no national titles. Lloyd Carr now, this is the interesting one. If we look at his record in his first 3, his first kind of 3 seasons, that record looks a lot different after 2 seasons, a lot different after 2.5 seasons like Lloyd Carr did. He was 17-8, Tom, after 2 seasons, ran off 12 straight games in the 1997 season, won a national title, won the Big Ten title as a conference champion, had a Heisman Trophy winner. So the tide can turn in year 3. If we look at Rich Rod, Lloyd Carr, and Brady Hoke, Carr and Hoke had some decent couple years. That 3rd year, Carr went through the roof and had kind of a 7-8 year string of championship contending teams after year 3. Brady Hoke fell off the map, went 2-6 down the stretch in his final 8 games of year 3. And same with Rich Rod, lost, I think it was 6 out of his last 7 games as Michigan coach after starting 5-0 that year in year 3. So I really think this season is a lot rides on kind of the trajectory of the Michigan program. Do they turn around down the stretch, or do they go 8-4 in year 3 and kind of next year set up as like, oh, it's just Michigan's number 3, number 4, number 5 in the Big Ten next year. No one will be expecting them to do anything better than what they've done if they go 8-4, 7-5 this year.
And that, of course, brings us back to Jim Harbaugh. Here's kind of where he stands right now on his little player card. James, here's the question I will pose to you and to anyone, I know you're not in this group, but anyone who doesn't think that Harbaugh's the guy. If Jim Harbaugh, who built Stanford, who built the Niners from basically the ground up, if Jim Harbaugh can't win at Michigan, then who can?
Well, it's a really good question. And I look back, what has plagued this program since 2008 when Rich Rod took over? It has really been 2 things, Tom. I should say it's been 3 things. It has been, number 1, quarterback play. They haven't had a quarterback that you can rely on, that that you can trust to make a game-winning drive since 2007 in Chad Henne, and still even that year he missed 3-4 games with injury. So you had a bout with Denard Robinson, but Denard Robinson's best season as Michigan's starting quarterback was a 7-6 year in 2010. He led him to 11-2 year in 2011 with Brady Hoke as the head coach. But any Michigan fan will tell you, they pulled 2 or 3 games out of their butts in the last play. They probably should have lost if it wasn't for the fact that Denard was running and not passing. The Devin Gardner era
he's a halfback
was a disaster. And so the quarterback position has been brutal. And so I'm thinking, okay, Jim Harbaugh can turn, and by his 3rd year at Stanford has Andrew Luck as his quarterback, right? If you look back to USD in San Diego, he had Josh Johnson, I believe, who became an NFL quarterback as his starting quarterback. And you look at the stats and the efficiency of that team. Then you go to the NFL. Alex Smith, who's the MVP of the NFL this year, he turned him from guy who was about to be out of the league into a potential star. And then Colin Kaepernick turned him into a superstar quarterback for about a 1.5 year stretch. Why can't we bring that same thing to Michigan? I don't understand it. It's not like Rich Rodriguez came into a program with 0 4-star quarterbacks on the roster. Jim Harbaugh came in the program with 4 4-star quarterbacks on the roster and has recruited 3 more 4-star quarterbacks. One's a tight end, one can't get any snaps, one's a true freshman, right? So he's got 6 guys to pick from. None can make plays. Yeah.
All right, folks, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. If you need last-minute sports or concert tickets, head over to chatsports.com/tickets to get the Game Time app. Up to 60% off compared to some of the other ticketing companies out there. The reviews on the iOS and Play Store are fantastic, and it's a great app.
Tom, if I say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. You don't have to sit there and stress out about tickets anymore, especially for the big games. The ticket prices come way down an hour before game, wait till the last few minutes. Get in the Game Time app, go right in the game from your phone. No need to print anything. No need to go to a will call office. Game Time is the way to go. Chatsports.com/tickets. Download it. Use it to buy Michigan tickets.
All right, folks. That's James Yoder, the Michigan Football Insider. I am Tom Downey. If you missed anything, don't worry. That also includes the Jim Harbaugh press conference clips here. We're going to play that all over one more time here for you. A big thanks to producer Brett Scott behind the scenes and to our sponsor, Game Time. That will do it for us, but don't go anywhere. We're going to play it all over again for you guys. You guys stay classy out there.